Welcome to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. We are on a mission to interview women and the occasional token man about how their passion and purpose have collided to create healthy relationships and profitable businesses. I am Elizabeth Denham here with Rebecca Monet. We are the co-founders of The Coterie for Women and publishers of the Franchise Women magazine. So Rebecca, how goes it?
Oh, it goes and goes. I don't know if I feel like I'm on a merry-go-round.
I know.
You remember those, right?
Oh yeah. I'm not one of those people who loves to spin.
Me either. No, roller coasters I love.
I can do a roller coaster. Spinning,
not my thing either.
Not, which is funny because as a dancer, I spun a lot, but it was control. I got to control it.
Mm-hmm. There's that control you again.
I know. Evidently, it's a running theme in my life, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
At least I recognize it, and I can control it.
Absolutely. So tell me about your roses and thorns this week.
Well, I thought you were going first, so now I'm really going to on the spot. I am now really on the spot, but I think I can do it. Okay. So the rose, I think, is we had our first event on the Coterie, a speaker who talked about, resilience and stress reduction. And we had a nice group and it was kind of intimate. We had about 13 and we had really nice conversation and I think everybody appreciated it. This is the election week. So people have been feeling a little bit stressed and concerned about what's going to happen and how that's going to impact their life. And I think it was nice just to have that community of women who, and it didn't get political at all. It wasn't about politics. It was about talking to each other, being in connection, having a whatever persuasion you are, having stress and having people to comfort you about it. And it was that part of it, I thought was really a nice thing. That we had a small enough group that we could kind of, get to know each other a little bit through that conversation. So that was my rose. I thought it was fun. My thorn is just, I don't even know. I'm trying to get on top of things. And every time I feel like I am, it goes out and I'm not anymore. So I think just feeling a little bit, I don't know if it's overwhelmed or disorganized because I feel like it's organized chaos. And I'm usually good with that.
I call it discombobulated. I don't know if that's a word, but
I think that works because I have several different scattered things. Oh, and here's a thorn. Let me show you what happened. So, we got our cups, right? We ordered.
Yeah.
So I ordered 6 so that I could send them out as gifts to a couple of people who've been very supportive. And here's one. No handle.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I heard, when you hear the box and you hear glass rattling and that's
something's up, right?
And then this one has a little divot.
Chip it.
And I haven't had time to deal with it. So I've got to call the company and say, you do not pack very well and I need 2 more cups. So that's my thorn.
It's interesting. I'm trying to think of what the word is, but in China, when they put china together, when it breaks, some pottery breaks or whatever, they use gold to put the pieces back together.
Oh.
And there's a term for it. And I thought about that is if we use gold to put the pieces back together, it actually makes that piece even more gorgeous, more collectible, right? And I thought I got to figure out what that term is because I just read it the other day because the idea behind it is not only is it prettier when you take shattered parts and you put them back together, whether that's your life or in this case, a cup, not only is prettier, but that area is stronger. So I think it's a wonderful metaphor when you think about putting your life back together or putting the pieces back together or putting a cup back together. Now, I'm not suggesting you use gold and put those cups back together.
I don't know what alternative I could use, but maybe I will work on putting these things back together and make it a metaphorical cup so that when I'm feeling shattered, I can use it.
Say, look, how pretty.
I don't think we can send it out to anybody as a gift, but we could certainly have it as a reminder. I like it. Brilliant. You turned my thorn into a rose.
Magic.
So yours. Tell me your rose and thorn.
Okay. So my thorn, right? I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed, right? My face is getting chubbier, right?
I have not noticed that.
It's chubby, right? My face is normally like a chipmunk anyway. I have a kind of a round face and short, chubby fingers and short, chubby toes. But as you know, I've been off of sugar for 15 months and I've been traveling the last month. And the enemy is tacos, right? It's tacos. It's not. And if you know, corn and flour, there's now chemist inside your body that turns that into sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So suffice it to say, what you are seeing is a taco face. My mortal enemy, tacos, which, just a couple, and all of a sudden I'm breaking out, I'm puffing up. 15 months of clean eating and a handful of tacos over a couple of weeks. All of a sudden,
so were these homemade tacos or were they store-bought? Where were these? I don't know.
Of course, they're from the best taco shop on the planet. They're from Roberto's.
Oh.
Okay, everybody knows that's the best taco shop, Elizabeth.
Evidently, I'm not in the know.
Yeah, get with it. Get with it. But we think that Russia is the enemy or China is the enemy. I swear to you, it's just, it's Mexico and their tacos. Because look at
They're
me.
so dang good and irresistible.
Right. And it's like this slippery slope.
That's funny. That is so funny because they are good. No, I don't know anybody who doesn't like tacos.
Everybody loves tacos. But the problem is now, technically, I'm eating sugar. For my body, it's sugar, whether it's corn tortillas or flour tortillas that we turn into tacos. So that's my thorn. I have a love-hate relationship with tacos, as does my face.
Well, I think you're the only one noticing a difference in your face because I did not even.
Look, I can't even button the top button. I'm so puffy.
Well, with carbs, that kind of carb comes salt also. So, because if you're clean eating and you're eating leaves and vegetables and fruits and things, you're not getting all that salt. So that probably doesn't help any kind of.
Doesn't help. Between the flour that turns into sugar and, like you said, probably wonderful salt too, which is one of my favorite foods on the planet, right next to butter. Butter is my favorite food on the planet.
And salt is second. Two hard things to resist. I totally feel your pain. So I hope you have a rose to counteract your taco problem.
So it kind of goes with my taco idea, but I have a dear friend that I haven't been able to see during COVID. He's an at-risk kind of individual. So he's been very cautious about getting out and about. And of course, now that I'm going to be moving across country, I'm wanting to reconnect with people. And he was willing to see me in person, masked up, and we had lunch together. So it was, to me, that was a rose. He and I have traveled together. We've had incredible fun over this last 10, 12 years that we've been good friends. And of course, what did we eat? We ate tacos.
Yeah, right. I kind of figured that was coming.
But the rose was, I got to spend time with my friend.
Yeah.
Right. So
he tempted you with the taco.
Yeah. Friendship. They can talk you into weird stuff, and say, come, let's jump off a cliff. And if it's a good friend, you're going to jump off the cliff with them. In this case, it was a taco frenzy.
Well, I hope it was worth it. Was it delicious?
I am still calculating it, but yes, it's still leaning towards it was worth it.
Every now and then you can splurge.
That's right.
Otherwise, what's life about? Good ones. I love it.
Here we are, our roses and thorns. Until next week when we get to talk about more roses and thorns.
All right, we will see you then. Welcome back to Where Passion and Purpose Collide. We are here with our very special Wednesday guests, and Rebecca's going to tell us a little bit about her.
Yes, I am. So the infamous Michelle Rowan. So Michelle Rowan is the president and CEO of Franchise Business Review, a market research and consulting company specializing in franchisee and employee satisfaction, as well as franchise relations issues. She's the chair of the IFA's Women's Franchise Committee and a certified franchise executive. She has facilitated CEO performance groups and executive networking groups within the franchise industry and regularly speaks at industry events. She lives in Maine with her husband and her beautiful daughter, where she and her husband also own a tasting room and brewery. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, ladies, for having me today.
I know, it's exciting.
We're excited, especially considering this is the day after Election Day, and we're all trying to get our heads together. Which brings me to my first question, Michelle, and that is, everyone kind of has a theme in their life, something that runs through, all the years that they're sort of on this planet. Do you have a theme in your life?
Yeah, I do. And I actually want to give you guys credit for helping me think about this, because I think it's I think everyone should go through this exercise to think about what is the theme in their life. And I came up with authenticity and integrity. In my personal life, in my business life, that is what is the most important thing to me, and really how I kind of evaluate the things that I'm doing and the people that I surround myself with. So that is by far the most important theme that I think came through when I thought about that question.
That's just beautiful. So what kind of created that theme? I know you just the way you've described as authentic and genuine and open book and integrity beyond integrity. But what was the foundation of that, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. And I usually will always make a joke here that starts with, I'm one of 3 girls. So I was raised by a very patient man and a very strong mother. So I think that that's probably the foundation, is that I'm really close with my family. My parents are both, they're very faith-based. So we grew up in church, and for me, it was never about the rules of religion. It was never about the Sunday service. It was really about the community and the lessons that you're taught as a child in church that really stuck with me, and I think are the most important things to me as a human on our planet, in just that you're part of something bigger than yourself. And so the way that you make everything better is by participating and by surrounding yourself with people that believe that same thing. So I think that was really the basis of where this came from. And I think the other side of it is my parents both just worked so hard, both in and out of the house. My dad, very traditional, my dad was the breadwinner. My mom stayed home with us. And then when we got older, she had jobs, and she had jobs on and off, but she was the main provider for us at home while my dad worked. So getting to see kind of how you live your life by being present and kind of juggling all those things, I think they were role models for me, and kind of how you do it.
Well, were they role models too? Like, I find it hard when you meet people who don't engage in the world around them. They get up, they go to work, they go to dinner, they come home, they go to bed, they do the next thing. And I have a hard time relating to that. And it makes me wonder with you, how do you think that, aside from the church thing, which I think teaches you to do the right thing and, do unto others, but also you take that next step where you want others to do, you want to teach them to do the right thing or participate or engage in the world that makes it better. Like, how do you get that next step? Because I think that is critical. And that's one thing as a parent I want my kids to do, is if you see something that you think is wrong, silence is about the worst thing you can do. Inaction is just as damaging as negative action. So where do you think that drive originates? I've thought about that lately.
That is a good question. And I think there's also some, and I'm married to a person that is a musician. He's on stage. He has that kind of external front of being very into people, but he really is an introvert. And so he needs that time to kind of decompress and kind of be home and in his thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I'm not that person. I'm go, 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 go. I have 100 things. So there's that constant, he's like, you need to slow down, where I'm like, you need to do more maybe. But I think that you have to, I don't know where it comes from. I think part of it is probably in you.
Yeah.
But I think that, some people hate that word hustler, but that's how I feel inside. I feel like I'm always hustling, and it's not out of a drive that I can't sit still. As I age, I've found that I do enjoy kind of sitting and reflecting a little bit more. But I think that you find where your joy is. And is it being around people? Is it staying busy? Is it learning new things? So everyone has that piece of it. And I think that can correlate into what you're doing. So how it first starts is how I was parented and how I parent. That is the most important thing to me, is that I don't ever want to be the parent that gets the call that says that my child is a bully or has done anything that would hurt someone else or the way that they're living. So I think that's all, that's the main thing. I have honest conversations with my daughter. She's 12. And so I think that's hard too. How do you navigate how early you have these conversations? But they have access to everything that's going on in the world. They know a lot more. And so by her opening up and talking to me, we can talk through when we see those examples of someone doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing, or how would you handle that differently, or how could you help that person? Yeah. So I think that's helpful. And I don't remember necessarily having those conversations a lot when I was a child with my parents, but I think parenting has changed in the last 30 years. And I think, there's that balance of, you don't want to be your kid's friend, but I was also one of 3 and I have 1 child. So I think that impacts too, how you parent. So I think that just my parents, they didn't put up with any shenanigans from us. We tried. So I think, it was getting involved in your neighborhood or your school or your committee work, whatever it is that brings you joy. You just make little impacts, and that will start, I think, impacting the people around you.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a conversation we had offline, Michelle, when you were first introduced to franchising and the IFA conference and your perception of it all, and ultimately how you stepped up and said, something needs to be done, and I might be the person to help make that happen. So can you tell us a little bit about your first experience, or that particular experience, and then the process of why you keep stepping into leadership roles? You keep stepping up and you keep wanting to have an impact. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. And, I used to joke, and I talk with some of my friends, I'll say, I need to learn how to say no more. So that's really the reason, but it's not. So now I am saying no a little bit more, because it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle. I was 30 when I first started franchising. My first day, I was the first hire here at FBR. So Eric Stites had started our company, and I was his first full-time hire. And he was really cautious in pulling trigger on the hire. So we had talked a lot beforehand. And by the time he got around to making me an offer, it was, hey, your first day is going to be us headed down to the Franchise Update Leadership Conference. So my day one was on a plane down to that conference.
Oh my goodness.
So, and I'll tell you the story because it is funny, and I've told a few people it, but the first night we sat to dinner together at a table and we talked. And the second night we're at Maggiano's. They always do the dinner there, as you know. We're at the bar, and he said, hey, if we split up, we can talk to more people. And I said, it's day 2. I said, if you're not concerned about how I present your company, then I'm not. And he said, let's do it. So I grabbed my glass of wine. I went into the bathroom, threw it back. And I said, let's do this.
Little liquid courage for you, huh?
Yeah. And so it was liquid courage for sure. And I've relied on that a few times, I will be honest. It's hard. It's hard to talk to people. And again, going back to that authenticity, nobody loves sitting through a business dinner. How's the weather? Where are you from? It's so tedious. And so if you're sitting at home and your spouse travels and you're like, they're so lucky they get to travel for work. When you're in sales, you're not lucky. It's hard. And so again, how can you make those connections? And so that was really my struggle. I would sit at, and plus it was a new company, it was a new idea. So trying to educate people and not come across as salesy was really important to me. And then back then, so 15 years ago, 2005, not a lot of ladies in franchising, and not a lot of people that I felt like I needed to get to know beyond just having that 30-minute dinner with. So it just was a different experience. I would go to conferences, not a lot of women on stage that were speaking. It's a very cliquey industry, which I think everybody can attest to. So I just kind of did my job, but got home to be with my family, no real connections beyond what my work role was. And you can break me up if you want at any time to ask a question, but I was challenged when I met Paul Pickett.
Yay.
And he really forced me to be his friend.
I can't even imagine that. And everybody wants to be Paul's friend.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that back then. But no, it was finding people that I had interest in spending time with outside of what we did for work, and seeing him he's the most authentic person and has the most integrity of any person I've ever met. And understanding that when you become friends with Paul Pickett, you very easily can meet 100 other people that are that way. He surrounds himself with lovely, lovely people. And I think he would say the same thing to me. Oh, Michelle, you know everyone. But in 15 years, I've gotten to hone in who you want to know and who you want to spend time with and get to meet and understand. So then it becomes, making those connections. So now I'm pretty good friends with Susan Beth. And it's interesting to me, I think I probably met her through Paul, but it's interesting to me that after we became friends, I found an old blog post that I had written when I had seen her speak. And I didn't even make the connection, but I was so impressed by her. And I certainly knew who she was and as we became friends, but she was so great to see, a strong female leader growing up in franchising, working on the franchisee side, and up there so vulnerable, talking about her stepping away from her family business and taking this chance to become a supplier. And we became friends after that speech. But when I went back and found it, I emailed it to her and I said, look at this. I actually saw you speak and I remember it. And so having those kinds of things, and then just building more friendships based on those people you come across that just are fantastic people that franchises really brought together. And just like franchise brands, there's fantastic franchise brands and there's shady run for the hills brands. So being able to just kind of help navigate that, I think has been a real blessing for me, and has led to some of my closest friends today.
So not only has it been about building connections and relationships that are deep and meaningful, built on being raw and vulnerable and transparent, but it's also allowed you to have a discerning eye about companies that maybe aren't, or individuals that aren't operating from this high level of integrity that we would like to see in this industry. So some of that has had you then step up and say, how can I change some of that, whether it's through awareness or education or some other way. So can you share with us a little bit more how this theme that you have of authenticity and integrity has had you then step out of your comfort zone and start taking some leadership positions?
Yeah, I think that's great. So with Franchise Business Review, we survey franchise owners to ask them what they think of their brand. So I know a lot of dirt on a lot of companies, and you'll never get me here, because my hope is that they're asking the questions and for the feedback for the right reason so that they can get better. We have started doing more work recently with associations, which come with a lot of different relationships with franchisors, but we've talked about this offline too. There's a lot of bad players, and especially with PE coming in and trying to infiltrate franchising, it makes me very nervous for our industry. There are some really great PE firms that come in and understand the business model and understand how that relationship is different with a franchisee and a franchisor than it is with a license model or a corporate expansion model. And there are others that don't. And so they come in and their idea is, let's strip it and just get what we can out of the royalties. And these are really great consumer facing brands. So a lot of loyalty and a lot of franchisees that came into their brand out of passion, not to grow a brand for a PE firm. And so it's different. It's different to run that business. So this is what keeps me up at night, is how can we shine a light on those bad players? Because they will ruin our industry. And the other side of it is these franchisees are usually putting everything into this business. I mean, they're emptying savings accounts and retirement accounts, or selling houses, or taking out mortgages. There's a lot on the line. And if that company goes under, that executive can walk away and get another job. That franchisee walks away with nothing. And that bothers me. And when I came in, when I found Eric, I was, we went to the same college. So I found him through our alumni network, but the strange timing of it was my dad was becoming a franchisee at the exact same time that I found Franchise Business Review. And so I spent my dad's, he was part of a franchise system that didn't do things the best way. And so watching my father, who I historically know is the hardest working man, the most honest man, get not fairly treated or not the best support, just was heartbreaking. And so that made it very real to me that we're not just helping these businesses on a very high level. Oh, isn't it great to help franchising? Like this is life or death for a lot of people. So I think that it becomes very easy. I'm so proud of what we do, and I'm so proud of the franchise executives I've met that work for these great teams that are focused on franchising is a great model if it makes sense for your franchisee and for us. It's not an either or, and it's not a dictatorship. And that was really how it was 15 years ago when I started. It was much more, we control the story and you're along for the ride. And the internet just blew that up. They can't run that way anymore.
True. What
Yeah,
you do.
you know, it's the technology changes so much in terms of transparency, accessibility. When you're talking about parenting differently and the access and when do you have those conversations, and then it applies in the same way to shining the light. There's so much negative about technology and social media platforms, but when you look at the positive, it is a lot harder for people to be shady when anybody can research you or find you or see where you are and what you're doing. So I think it's such an interesting thing. And then how do you navigate that and help them to understand you can't really hide?
Yeah,
right.
People are going to know.
The people side of it too, in that many more franchisees are participants in multiple brands.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that kind of person network that's kind of spreading what's happening, the real story, or you're seeing much more storytelling on development sites that they want to know about the person that's running the business and how you treated them. And they don't want to just look at the numbers on the page. And Rebecca knows this. There's people that are number driven and there's people that are heart driven. And you have to appeal to all of those if you're going to sustain and grow. But I will also say this year has been crazy for business, for franchising. And I mean, I'm a small business owner with my husband, not a franchise, and getting to see the way that franchising helped those business owners navigate this and support them through it versus what small business owners had to go through on their own I was really proud to be part of franchising, to see that and to see franchisors really stepping up to help and just change business models and not bicker about, you know, the length of time it takes to roll it out, or they just, what do we need to do to keep the lights on? What do we need to do to keep you here 12 months from now? So that was also just makes you feel good to know that you're part of something that really gets it.
That they have your back, that the franchisors is figuring this out so you can have your head down in your business, continuing to grow it, while the franchisor is pivoting and changing and doing the research to stay on top of not just the technology, but the environment and the economy and COVID and all of those things that they're.
And I mean, it was just really great to see that.
It's just, it's absolutely beautiful. I'm wondering if I can shift gears.
Yes.
And get really personal for just a second. You are tall. And you stick out on the dance floor in a meeting. So how is that?
Funny. Yes. On the
how
dance
is that for you? To be tall, and has it been a positive, negative? How do you work with it in environments, especially an environment which is male dominated, the world of franchising, as a tall, gorgeous young woman?
Oh, that's very nice. I feel neither gorgeous nor young these days, but I will admit to a lot of people will say, I met you on the dance floor. I love to dance. so I will always say being tall is a wonderful thing. I would much rather be tall than be short. And I'm sorry for all the short people. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm 6 feet tall, and I was 6 feet tall from like 8th grade on. So I played tennis and I played volleyball, where those things were really an asset. And I think that helped me frame it. I was able to always find taller boyfriends. So I don't feel like I don't have the slouch that a lot of people have. I've really enjoyed it, but it is, I think that, and maybe it helps that I have a very big smile, but I think it's very intimidating. And I think it's very intimidating for men, especially. And I did get feedback from a few people that said, gosh, you're so intimidating. Or I was afraid to approach you. And that's not my fault. I don't think I have, what is often referred to as resting bitch face or anything like that. So it's what's in their head, but that lesson from that is how you kind of think about, okay, this is feedback I'm getting and I can fly off the handle. My joke, like in college, people would always ask me if I played basketball, and I'm a terrible basketball player. Terrible, like can't even play horse. And so my very small and lovely roommate in college, who was so sweet, said to me one day, do you play basketball? I said, no. Do you play miniature golf? That was my very mean response. And she looked at me and she said, I just wanted you to come play with me. And I was like, oh. So that wasn't the right way to respond.
That's so funny.
But I took it to heart and thought, gosh, how can I make it so that I am more approachable? Because I don't ever want to send off that vibe. I definitely don't want people just like coming up and hugging me, but it is franchising. So that happens a lot pre-COVID. So I did think about that. I didn't necessarily stop wearing big shoes or stop dancing on the dance floor, but I was aware of it. If I felt like awareness into the room, understanding that, hey, I'm 6 feet tall and I'm not shy, so I'm busting in there, how can I tone it back a little bit and maybe just make sure that I'm reading people's body language and listening to what they're saying and how they're saying it, so that I don't come across as very...
That's such a funny thing, because I used to get, I was very shy growing up, like very, very shy. And people in middle school thought I was a snob. I moved in the 7th grade and they thought I was a snob. And I was like, I'm just not out, it took me a while to warm up. And so same thing. I think when you embrace those things instead of take them personally, I realized that my little shy hang up caused other people discomfort or made them think something of me that wasn't true. So then you make an effort to say hello in the hallway or ask them a question. And that was hard for me during that time to kind of break out of that, so that I would disarm them and not make them feel like I thought I was a snob. That's a hard thing when you're young, don't you?
For business though, like it's a great lesson for business to look people in the eye. I mean, it's a great lesson in general, but yeah, I mean, there's a really good book by Malcolm Gladwell, The Talking to Strangers or Talking with Strangers, where we all make assumptions of the person that we're interacting with, and we're probably never right.
Well, right. And that's the recipient's responsibility. But as the giver of whatever vibe that is, or whatever assumption that is, we can control that narrative to a degree.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's a great lesson in being willing to receive that feedback, even if it's completely stereotypical and inaccurate.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Lots of stereotypes on everybody, but so how can you not fall into that and still be authentic? I hope that you weren't not being shy because you didn't want to not be shy, but you took it as an opportunity to try and stretch or challenge.
I realized it was something I could change. Like I have control over that. You don't have control over 6 feet, but you have control over how people, how you interact to be, more approachable. I had complete control over that.
Yeah.
And so I could make that change and then have better relationships. And I think that lesson in the 7th grade has carried me through uncomfortable situations. Like I'm probably one of those extroverted introverts. There's a part of me that still wants to hold back, but I'm able to overcome that. So I think I became very aware of changing that dynamic when I walk into a room of people that I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think everybody could take a good lesson from and accept feedback, even if it's just a way to change your engagement.
Yeah. And I
Exactly.
mean, and it's definitely hard. You know, I think Rebecca, we were introduced by Stan years ago, and
Mhm.
Rebecca was one of the first person that just like giggled at me, and she's like, "You're just so direct, and you're like, get things done." And that is me. But I was like, oh, and it's the same at work. I love the people I work with, but my feedback I got was, I want to get going and get everything off my list, but other people need you to check
Right.
in and be kind and ask about their weekend and chit chat. So it is a conscious effort for me, and
Mhm.
I get it,
Bottom line, right?
right?
Bottom line, is it done yet? Is it soup yet? Are we there yet?
So yeah, that's good feedback. And then I also, I mean, there's always stuff that we're working on, I think. And so now my challenge is the tone of how I say things. So that's my current at 45. That's what I'm working on. The message is great. The tone is sometimes, so that's my current challenge.
I've had that
Self-awareness.
feedback before too.
Self-
Like, I think it
Self-awareness.
sounds perfectly nice, and somebody else is like, "Why are you being so sharp?"
Don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. Oh, I hate for this conversation to end. I am learning so much, and I so appreciate your time. So, Michelle, before we wrap up, folks that are interested in Franchise Business Review and the services you provide, how do they get hold of you?
They franchisebusinessreview.com, right on our site. They can get my email, they can get my phone number. We're very reachable. And also too, you know, I don't think we had enough time to get into it, but as the chair of the Women's Franchise Committee, it's my pleasure, and it is, I feel like, my obligation to help foster younger female executives within franchising. So I would also say too, you know, networking and connecting with others. I know that you guys are doing it with your new coterie site too. That's so important. And that's how we, again, just like the conversations with our children, let's make it easier for the people coming up behind us to know who are the great people to meet, who's going to help them in their journey to continue getting better and making our world better. So I'm happy for people to connect with me through FBR or through my role at IFA, but it's all about community, and that's how we all get better, and that's how we keep shining a light on the ones that don't want to get better.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you for bringing that out, because that is what we are focused on, Elizabeth
Yeah.
and I with the Coterie, is about empowering women to have a voice, to express themselves fully, to find mentors, to get edified and encouraged. And you're doing that with the committees you're on, with the IFA. But to boldly say, if you're someone that needs mentored, you're someone that needs encouragement, then you know, reach out to Michelle, and she's here to assist in any way that you can. I already know a couple people that you are mentoring, and they're endlessly grateful, including Cassidy Ford, that you're mentoring. And she's an up and coming, I truly believe. So thank you for stepping up to the plate.
Thank you guys, because I know not everyone is a member of IFA, and so, you know, all of the opportunities that you have to meet other people, it really does. You don't have to do everything from scratch. You can access a lot of people that have gone through it and done it before. So I love it. I love what you guys are doing, and I'm definitely happy to support all the ladies that want to continue growing with franchising. It's a great industry, I think. So I hope it encourages more people to take a look at the opportunities that are available on the supplier and on the franchisor side.
So funny,
Agreed.
as you
And,
said.
you know, I'd love to have you back maybe after the first of the year and just talk about the IFA and the Women's Franchising Committee and leadership and mentorship and things like that, where we could delve a little more deeply, because I think those are such critical elements of who you are and who you are in this space, that it's worth a whole conversation on its own. If you're open to that idea, we would love to have you back.
Yeah. And when I'm on Zoom, you can't tell how big and scary I am. So
and your smile, I'm telling you, it's iconic. I mean, even as a child, when I see pictures of you as a kid, I mean, if I only saw the smile, I know it's Michelle.
It's been this big since I was 2.
You have the best smile on the planet.
Thank you. That's really, really nice. I enjoy joy. That is for sure.
Yeah. Well, and this year's theme for Elizabeth is she wants to be a tornado of joy. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
So there you go.
My son made me a graphic. Like, I was having a crappy year and I just decided that I was going to embrace joy and I was going to become Goldie Hawn. Kate Hudson was interviewed and she called her mother a tornado of joy. Someone said, is she really that happy? And she's like, she's a tornado of joy all the time. And I thought, that's what I want to be. I'm going to be a tornado of joy. So my son made me a graphic and my daughter put it on a coffee cup.
I'm like thinking Halloween costumes with your hair like big and
I love it. I have this little rainbow tornado that's like tornado of joy. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. If you can find anyone that's had a great 2020, I'd also love to hear from them.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anybody either. And we had some custody issues going on at our house that were just really terrible. And so I'm turning 50 in April. And I thought when I turned 49, I was like, this is it. This is going to be my joyful year of if I have to force it down my throat.
Yeah. You're going to be happy whether you like it or not.
That's right. Thanks for inviting me into your tornado of joy today.
Thank you for
participating in it.
All right. Until next time, everyone, tune in to where passion and purpose collide.
What do you think is the #1 challenge for franchisors? You got it. Getting the right fit franchisee. And as you know, poor fit franchisees are often poor performers. Poor fit franchisees cost more to train and support. Poor fit franchisees are rarely satisfied or compliant, which can lead to validation issues. Not a good place to be. But now there is a solution. Zoracle Profile's scientific spot-on match program. Working with top broker groups in franchising, Zoracle has created a platform that scientifically matches the broker's candidate to the right fit franchise brand. Spot On Match predicts the compatibility, performance, and viability of a prospective franchisee. Spot On Match gives the franchise development team a data-driven and scientific approach to selling franchises. This is how it works. Zoracle works with each franchisor to establish their top performer blueprint. This research assesses current franchisees to determine the key psychographic indicators that separate high performers from mid to low performing franchisees. The final result of the research is the brand's Eclipse report, which compares prospective franchisees to a franchise system's high performers. Finally, brokers are running a spot-on profile on each of their franchise prospects. These profiles are then scientifically bumped up against the franchisor's high performer algorithms, and the match process begins. Dashboards are built for the franchisor and the broker to make sure the process is smooth and trackable. Right Fit matches instantly. Find out how you can be a spot-on match member. Save time. Stop guessing. Start matching. Call Zoracle Profiles.
Welcome to Women in the Know, where we discuss everything from politics and policy to relationships and marketing. We take the lessons that we have learned through our interviews and through our experiences and share them with you, the viewer, so hopefully we can all learn a little something together. Today's topic was from Michelle Rowan's conversation that we had, and she mentioned surrounding yourself intentionally with the people that you want to be surrounded by and represent you. And I think we wanted to dig a little bit deeper on that. And I think it's a huge thing. You know, when your kids are growing up, you tell them you are who your friends are. You know, if you're in a shady group, people are going to think you're shady. So how have you worked that idea into your tribe, Rebecca?
It's really interesting to watch Michelle Rowan. I've known her a number of years. My initial introduction to her was through Stan Friedman, who is an incredible network builder and really all about connection, as is Michelle. And she has been very conscious and deliberate about creating her tribe. And what I found interesting in when she was talking was she wants to be around like-minded people that want to make a difference and want to have an impact and elevate this business model called franchising, but are also honest and transparent and integrous, knowing that it has some flaws and they're willing to address it. So she is part of groups and deliberate about finding people that want to go to that next level of integrity and make a difference. And then she had the other side that I thought was kind of cool, which is this willingness to also stretch herself to be more inclusive of others, knowing that she herself sometimes is prejudged, stereotyped simply because of her height. So she is good about, reeling that in or making herself even more approachable. So folks that normally wouldn't come towards her and become part of her tribe are now comfortable becoming part of her tribe. So I thought this was a wonderful conscious effort to select her tribe, but also be open and receptive to, making sure people perceive her for all that she is, rather than she's just tall and she's bodacious.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly. And the thing that is, when you build a tribe of people who are the people you want to be like or to emulate, you bring the people who may not have those same qualities along. There's something about having a group of people who are authentic and have integrity. And when you add to an established group, people tend to be drawn in that direction because they're not going to be included if they don't have those things. So I think that there's something to having that influential tribe where the more solid and the more reputable you are as a tribe, people want to be in it. And in order to do that, there are some standards, so I think that is important to attract people,
Excellent point. So it's kind of a self-policing almost. If you've had these standards for the tribe, if you don't meet those standards, you're probably not going to be comfortable. You're likely going to leave, and vice versa. If you're part of a tribe that all come from those same values, as Michelle has described, about authenticity and integrity and raising the bar in the world of franchising and fully being engaged, if you're not someone where that's a good fit for you, you likely would be asked to leave.
Or you would run yourself off because you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's like, I don't belong here. That's too much responsibility. Or, oh my gosh, I got to be transparent. I got to be real. I got something to hide, or whatever it is that they are feeling. So it's a powerful thing, this idea of tribe. And I know it's so much of what we're committed to at the Coterie for Women is for women to find their tribe as women, but also smaller coteries and smaller tribes with specific outcomes and values and reasons to be participating.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we want to do. And I think that when you have a tribe that represents your values and your ideas and promotes you and elevates you, then the sky's the limit, right? You've got people behind you, helping you, mentoring you, providing support. Those are critical. And hopefully, as we grow, that's what the Coterie is going to become for a lot of people.
Yes, already is.
It is. It's exciting. I'm excited about it.
Me too. All right, those of you not already Coterie members, check us out, the Coterie for Women, or send us an email. We'll answer your questions. ask@beckandliz.com. We'll get you involved, get you part of helping you find a part of your tribe and being more conscious, just like Michelle Rowan, about building your tribe and finding ways to support one another and being supported.
Well, and immediately following the show, every Wednesday, there's happy hour. So look for it on social media and join the Zoom link, and we will be your tribe.
Woohoo!
All right, we will see you there. The Franchise Woman is a bi-monthly digital magazine that empowers women as they navigate the franchising industry by providing relevant news, tools, advice, and inspiration. We are a resource for women who are seeking to own their own businesses, improve their existing businesses, find creative solutions, and take advantage of franchise opportunities. We feature women in the business who best exemplify our ideals and have something to teach our readers. In addition to our exclusive articles relating to the female entrepreneur, we also feature brands that are geared for women. Women have become the fastest growing sector in business ownership and have become a powerful, influenceable force fueling the economy. The Franchise Women will give you the news that is relevant to you to help you navigate the path of successful franchise ownership. By women, for women, and about women. We are the Franchise Women. Join us today at www.thefranchisewoman.com.
Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. If you have a question for Elizabeth and myself, send your questions to ask@beckandliz.com. That's ask@beckandliz.com. Elizabeth, our question today stems from our conversation with Michelle Rowan from Franchise Business Review. And it had to do with this idea that we each have a theme in life, something that kind of runs through our life and consistently shows up for us, whether we're conscious about it or not. And it was very kind of thoughtful how Michelle answered it. But my question to you is, what's your theme in life?
Whenever I've heard this question, this thought that pops into my mind immediately is that my theme is you can't make this shit up. Because I live my life completely shocked almost all the time at the things that happen. I find myself in places in life I never thought I would be continually. And you would think that I would understand that, there are a lot of people out there who are not my cup of tea, or situations that are not, yet I'm always surprised by them. And I don't understand why that is, but that's kind of my theme.
Oh my gosh, what a great theme. So your whole life is just a barrel of surprises and adventures, not necessarily good ones, but they're definitely a whole life of surprises that are happening for you.
Well, it is. And it's because of that theme that we have the gift of the struggle, because I've spent so many time, I ended up divorced with 3 kids at 33. My son started having seizures right after I filed for divorce. I ended up moving in with my parents who thinks they're going to do that when they're 34. And then I did online dating and had one ridiculous date after the next. I have 200 pages of bad dates. And that was the original title of my book was You Can't Make This Shit Up, because no one could believe these dates. And I changed it because I thought a curse word wouldn't be good for SEO and, whatever. And people might not read it because they would think it was something that it wasn't. It's not dirty or offensive at all. So then I had, so many of these crazy dates to refer to, and then, get remarried, move to Alabama, which I'm a fish out of water in, and then have custody issues, and then, different jobs. And then all of a sudden here I am in franchising in the coterie. And I just,
how did I get here? How did I get here? It's like a ping pong, what's that game where you hit a ball and it goes around and it bounces off of things? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the pinball game.
Pinball game. That's what it's called.
That's what it feels like sometimes.
Here's Elizabeth's life.
Yeah. I've really learned to find the gifts in all that. A lot of that is struggle. And some of it's, the bad dates are funny now. They weren't in the moment. So I think if you can't laugh,
you have to.
You're missing out on an opportunity.
You know what? I think there's someone on this planet that shares your theme.
Mm-hmm.
It was a guy I dated many years ago, and he was a movie producer. And every time he called me, I swear to you, Elizabeth, every time he called me, he says, "You're not going to believe what just happened." And he would have story after story after story. And you're going, he's making this up. He's lying. This isn't really happening.
But you can't make it up.
You can't make it up, right? You just can't make this poo-poo up. One of the times, I got to tell you, was he was en route to go skiing, and I think it was in Barstow, California, and he has his tiny little car, and he stopped at a gas station, and he's running into the Quick Trip or 7-Eleven or wherever he is to get a bottle of water. And all of a sudden, through the building, a 18-wheeler truck comes crashing through the building, pins him to the cooler where he is getting water. And he's pinned to the wall by an 18-wheeler truck where a truck driver, I guess, had parked on a hill, didn't put the parking brake on, and it rolled and it went through this building. At first I thought, he's got to be kidding. He's making this poo-poo up.
Right. It sounds like he's an exaggerator, but he's not.
No, it was in the newspaper. It was, man,
Well, I don't
it's
have that
been-
kind of story. I mean, I guess I should count my lucky ducks that I do not have an 18-wheeler pinning me to a wall story.
I don't know. Some of your dating stories, Elizabeth, are iconic.
Yeah, Sweeten the Deal guy was a good one.
Yes, he
When
was a
somebody
great one.
actually says in words that I have to sweeten the deal for a second date, and you say, "What does that mean?" And they tell you, you know, that's why he was on the title.
Sweeten the deal. Hey, he was authentic. He was real. And he told you the
there were
truth.
so many questions to be had after that I didn't think of in the moment because I'm shocked. And now I'm thinking, this is what always happens to me. I think of these things after it's too late. But like, how many times has that worked for you? How many women have said yes to that?
So
little
yeah, I'll sweeten the deal
proposition?
because you are so handsome. You're so adorable. You're so worthy of my time. I'll sweeten the
Right.
deal.
But clearly that was Big Frank, and Big Frank was 5'7" on a good day. So he clearly had some perception issues. Anyway, it's just funny that's the first thing that always pops into my head when people talk about, you know, how you would describe your life. So
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse.
No, but now I know you can't make this poo-poo up in Elizabeth's
Exactly.
life. She's a pinball machine.
So the next time we come up with this question, you're going to be on the spot.
No, you don't want to hear my theme. It's going to take 100 years to explain it, but we'll make it. We'll get to it.
We'll fit it in little by little. We can do a series.
Yeah. But for today, I want to thank everybody for joining us, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.